Hi guys, it's Becky, and today I am going to be making the rest of my set to go with this bracelet that I made last week. It's this bubble bangle bracelet that I made using the curated collection for January from Beads to Live By. And so I've got some other beads from that same curated collection, from the 2-hole bead collection, and from the add-on bundles that I purchased. And we're going to go ahead and make a necklace, a ring, and some earrings to go with this. So buckle up because we're going to be making some things today. So if you're not familiar with the curated collections from Beads to Live By, it's one of my favorite subscriptions. Cassandra puts together bundles of seed beads in the seed bead collection, some 2-hole beads in the 2-hole bead collection. I subscribe to both of those. And then there are add-on check glass bundles where you can get fire polish beads or some shaped check glass. And so some of those are what we're going to be adding. I love these super interesting, and I have not used them before, like cat's claw kind of beads. They're just fantastic. I love spike beads. I love daggers, and I am going to be integrating these into a design for both the necklace and some earrings. So we're going to use those. We're also going to be using the 2-hole dagger beads that came in that subscription. We're going to be using some of the 6-0, 8-0, and 11-0 seed beads that came in that subscription. And I have opted for this design instead of using the blue 6-0s. I'm going to go with these yellowy gold like topaz silver lined with the matte finish. I think they are gorgeous. And I'm also going to be using some of these pyramid beads, the ones that are this light pink with the travertine finish. They are gonna just really add up some stuff to this design. And some of these were the newer shapes of the 2-hole beads that came in the 2-hole bead subscription. We're going to be using those. And for the another bundle bead, I am going to be using these puffed check glass coin beads. They are really, really pretty, and I'm going to be using these in my ring that I'm making. And so I think it's just going to be a really simple ring design for that. In fact, why don't I do the ring first? But before I do that, let's go over what else I'm using in this. Because my necklace design is going to have a little bit of bead weavy element to it. It's not going to be like completely bead woven like this where I used a thread and a needle. I'm using the Soft Flex Fine with the copper color. I love copper with turquoise, you guys know this, but also copper really highlights the more brownie tones that we get in some of these other pieces. Gold would also be a really great color to use with this, I think. So I'm going to be using this for my stringing material for my necklace, and I'm going to be using this for the earrings as well. And then I've got some 20 gauge non-tarnish copper wire because I'm going to be using this for my ring, and it's because this these like corally lined seed beads, they are very bright copper reminiscent, and I think that that's a great metal to go with this. So I'm going to be using these for the ring. And I'm also going to, my tools that I'm going to be using for making my ring, I'm going to be using some chain nose pliers, some flush cutters, and I'm going to use this for my bracelet as well. I have some flat nose pliers that I'm going to be using with the ring, and I have a ring mandrel that I'm going to be using. Now, if you don't have a ring mandrel, you can still make a ring using craft wire. I would suggest finding some sort of tube that a ring that you know fits will fit onto and slide easily off. That way you can wrap around it and have that. This is just a lipstick tube. It's one of my favorite lipstick colors. So it works great for that. If you do use something that is not a made for meat ring mandrel. I would not suggest to hammer it, because I am going to be hammering this at a certain point. I've got a little chasing hammer that it's just gonna help work harden the loop when I do that. And actually, I think I'm gonna skip the wooden ring mandrel and I'm just gonna use my metal one, because since I'm going to be using a coin bead on it, the coin bead will sit flat against it while I'm shaping my wire. So the metal one has that channel on that side, so I'm gonna do that. That's my decision. So those are my tools. That's what I'm gonna be using. I'm also going to be using for the because I'm going to be using beading wire, I'm going to be using my magical crimpers in order to crimp my work afterwards with the wire, and I will find those when we get to that point. We aren't there yet. There they are. Magical crimpers. I just really prefer them, and even though these are for 0.018 and 0.019 wire, this is the size of magical crimper that I have. They work best with 2x2 crimp tubes, and this one is 0.014. This wire is going to be like through the crimp tube like 4 different times, and you know, 2 times 21, that would be like 4 or 2 of the medium wire. Anyway, it'll work. It'll still hold because we're going to have multiple strands of this going through the crimp tubes at the time. And we'll get to that when we get to that. But just letting you know that even though the number on here, it doesn't match here, it's still going to work because of how much wire is going to be going in the crimp tube. All right, so the whole reason that I wanted this is because I needed a wire that was soft and flexible enough to be able to bend around and go through things a couple of times, and also be able to fit with multiple passes, like more than 2. It's going to go through here 3 times at least for these check glass pieces, because sometimes check glass holes can be a little bit smaller than like a 6/0 seed bead hole. That's a much larger hole, and it can handle multiple passes of some of the thicker wire. So let me actually move some of these things out of the way and leave my wire working tools here. And let's make the ring first. I think I actually am making the executive decision to include some of these 6/0s in my ring design. I was just going to have just the coin bead, and I'm like, you know what, let's just stick some of these guys on there because it's going to be right next to the bracelet on my hand when I wear it as a set. I want some of those turquoise seed beads there to like go with it, to match it. So I'm going to pull off. It doesn't need to be a lot. This mat is about 15 inches wide, and I usually use that if I need about 15 inches as my guide. And I am cutting off probably more wire than I need. That's okay. I can use scrap wire for all sorts of things. And right now I'm just warming it up in my fingers. Somebody gave me a really great tip that if I've got an old t-shirt, I can use that to warm up my wire and straighten it out. I do not have a t-shirt here, and this is non-tarnish wire, so it has a little bit of a protective coating on it, so I'm not using my nylon jaw pliers just because I don't want to risk stripping away that coating, because I want that bright copper to be there for later. So all I'm going to do is find about the middle-ish of this wire, and I'm going to string all 3 of these beads right there onto the center of this wire. Like I said, this is going to be a very simple ring. That's all it's going to look like. And I'm going to set that right above the channel. I'm going to start bending my wire around the back. Do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to try to keep Hold on. I'm gonna bend right next to the seed bead because I want the seed beads to stay next to here and not scroll down. And when I do my wrapping, it'll hold them in place. But I don't want them getting in the way while I'm bending it around my mandrel. Okay, so I'm gonna cross and back, go all the way around up here to the sides. And I think this part is the one thing that I dislike about this ring mandrel, is because the back has the channel too. It's not just the channel on this side, it's the channel on both sides. So this ends up being more flat. So I'm probably going to be popping this onto my wooden one to get me a more rounded edge to my ring. But I'm just kind of pressing here on the side around the rounded part, just to kind of help this ring remember its shape when I pull it off. I'm also going to take my pliers while this is still on here. I'm going to bend my wire. It's a little difficult when it's farther away from my face, which is where it is, so that you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm gonna bend my wire like that. I want more of a sharp bend in it, just over the top. All right, that's gonna work for that. Then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And after I bend it, I want to bend it while it's still on here so that I'm bending in the right place. I just want some space right there between my bend and this seed bead because I'm going to be wrapping my wire there. That's why I'm leaving that space on either side. So now I can take this off of here. And right there where that bend is, I'm holding onto this so that it doesn't, you know, deform. I want to grip with my flat nose pliers right here, right below that bend, to keep these two wires right next to each other. And I'm going to cut off a bunch of my excess because all I'm doing is I'm going to be wrapping around here, and I don't want to have to bend my wire in order to get it through this hole. All right, this is the tricky part because you know what? I'm putting down my chain nose pliers and I am picking up my bent chain nose pliers because I will be able to get at this wire with a better angle in order to wrap it. I don't want to wrap it below, I want to wrap it above. See how it's filling that space? Trying to keep those where they need to be. We're going to round that square part out with my wooden mandrel in a little bit. In the meantime, making sure that these are even. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to hold that right there so it doesn't move. And that space right there between that and the seed bead are where I'm going to be wrapping. And that's why I cut off my excess, so that I can pass it through there. It's a very, very simple ring. Did a really complicated one with my sister's ring. Doing this is a great way for me to challenge myself because I don't do a lot of this, and that's one of the best things about a personal challenge, is that I can stretch myself and do new things and try new things and maybe fail at some of them and maybe get better and learn a few things while I'm at it. Just tucking in my edge. Make sure it's not sticking straight out. To catch on things, or poke my other fingers. There we go, that's nice and smooth. And yeah, we're gonna definitely round that out on the round guy. Do the same thing over here with this end. There we go. Now, this is the part where if you have something else that you're using besides a ring mandrel for this, you are going to want, hold on, this is not on the right side of this. You're going to not want to hammer it on the mandrel because it will break hard plastic, it will break glass. Something that can take a little bit of hammering is what you want to use. And I would use my nylon tipped hammer, but I can't find that for some reason. It's just not here where I left it the last time, so I'm just going to hammer real gently to round this out. Stop hammer time. That just work hardens my ring. And now I have 2 pieces of my full set because I am doing a challenge this February called Full Set February, and this is part of that challenge. Making a full set of jewelry, ring, necklace, earrings, and bracelet for each bead box or bundle or collection that I work from this month. So since I started working from this month, even though it's the January one, I am committed to my goal and we're going to do that. All right, now let's work on our necklace. So I am going to take about 15, 17 inches of this beading wire, and I'm going to go ahead and cut that off because that's going to be one of the strands of wire that I'm working with. I'm going to be working with a second strand of wire, and I'm just going to double that length. So double the amount of wire that I've already started with. And this may be too much wire. That's okay because I can use the extra for the earrings. It's one of the ways to, so that's one length. I'm just going to fold that in half and get my second length cut off from my spool. All right. Now I'm going to work from the middle outwards because I have a plan for the middle of my necklace, and then we'll just do some other things to get it to go out from there. And because I'm going to be working from the middle out, I'm going to grab a little bead stopper so that things don't come unstrung while I'm working. All right. Just finding the middle of both of these. Okay, that's the middle. And I'm gonna just go a couple inches to the right and put my bead stopper there. Boop. And now I've got my 2 strands of wire, and I'm going to be working with both of these strands of wire for this design. And the first thing I'm going to do is grab one of these 6/0 seed beads. And I'm going to put both ends of my wire, the wire of both ends, the ends of both wires, there we go, words, right on there. And then 1/8 on each strand. So I've got a 6/0 on both strands, 1/8 on each strand. They start to separate a little bit. It's fine if they wiggle or move around a little bit. One of the reasons I chose a specific color for my wire is because I don't mind if it shows through on my design. And now I'm going to put 2 11/0s on each wire. So 2 on wire 1 on my longer wire and 2 on my shorter wire. This is gonna be fun, stringing these along. So now I've got my wires going through, both of my wires going through my 8/0, and each wire going through, or my 6/0, each wire going through an 8/0 and 2 11/0s. Now I'm gonna grab one of my tool beads, and I'm going to put each strand through a hole in this bead. Scooch that along like that. And one of these is shorter than the other. I'm actually going to rotate this so that my shorter wire is on top and my longer wire is on bottom, because that's going to be a lot easier for me to follow and get. And then I'm going to grab my pyramid bead, and I'm going to want to string these so that my pyramid bead is facing towards me with the point, because it does have a point. You're going to want to pay attention to which holes you're putting them in. And so if it is pointing towards me and I've got the holes going on the sides, I'm going to put my short wire through the top and my long wire through the bottom. Scooch that along like that. And then I'm going to do another one of these newer 2-hole beads, and I'm seriously spacing on the name of this bead because it's so new. I will look it up and put it in the description below, but while I'm working with it, it's just going to be my little cylinder 2-hole bead. There is a specific name for it, and again, I'll put it in the description after I look it up. It just isn't popping into my head right now. Put that guy there. And I'm going to just mirror what I did on the other side of my my pyramid bead. So I'll have 2 11-0s and an 8-0 on each strand, and then we'll put them both through a 6-0 together. So 2 11-0s on my short strand, 1 8-0 on my short strand. I'm just going to pick them all up while I've got it in my hand. Push that down. And then for my long strand, 2 11-0s and an 8-0. Push that down. And then we're going to grab one of our 6-0s and put both ends of the wire through that 6-0. It's long. Go. Whew. So that is part of my necklace. You could do this as a bracelet as well. If you did this all the way along, I think that would look fantastic as a bracelet. In fact, maybe I will make another bracelet and use these for that if I have enough beads left over at the end of this. But now comes the super fun part, and that is grabbing one of these coin beads, and I'm going to put both ends of the wire through the coin bead, or both wires through the coin bead, going in the same direction. So we're going to slide that along. All right, now I've got my short end of my wire up here. I'm going to ignore that for a little while, and I'm going to take my long end of my wire and I'm going to string on 2 11-0s, an 8-0, a 6-0, an 8-0, and 2 11-0s. Like that. And now I'm going to pick up one of these 2-hole daggers, and I'm only going to be using 1 hole on my 2-hole daggers, and it's going to be this top hole, the one that's closest to the narrow point, not the pointy point. So we're going to put that on there. And this is the part where you kind of have to pay attention to how this is going to go. This wire is going to go back around this way. And I want, when I'm wearing this, the point of my little claw not to be pointing out towards the viewer, but to be pointing towards me when it's laying on my chest. So I'm going to want to string this so that when it is laying, like, this is why I curved it, by the way, so that I could pay attention to how it was going to go. So I'm going to want it to be strung this way, in this direction. So it's pointed up that way, but when it hangs, it's going to be pointed down. So this is how the necklace will appear to everyone else but me while I'm wearing it. And then I'm going to put my other dagger on. Again, this is still all just on my long wire. And now I'm going to repeat this bead section that I just put on the other side of these guys. So 2 seed beads, 11 seed beads, sorry. They're all seed beads. 1 8-0, 1 6-0, 1 8-0, and 2 11-0s. All right, and here's where it gets a little bit tricky. And this is why I'm choosing to use a thinner wire, one of the fine wires. It's because I'm going to take the end of this wire and I'm going to put it through this, the hole in this, going through there a 3rd time. So that's 3 passes of this wire. You've got your top wire, your bottom wire, and now we've got our looped wire. And it may take a little bit of finessing, but there is enough room in these beads for all 3 of these wires to fit. And when I loop this around, we're going to get a little bit come on, buddy. There we go. We're going to get that happen. Now I'm going to be doing 5 of these. I don't want a ton of them. I don't want them all the way around my neck. I just want 5 of them. So this is the first one. You notice I scooched a couple of inches over from the center. So this is the center of my necklace. I'm going to do another one after it over here. And then I'm going to do another one here and then 2 more. So let me grab one of the 6-0s. Because I'm going to start this repeat all over again with the 6-0, the 8-0s, the 11-0, both of these 2-hole beads, and then we'll get to our other guy pretty soon afterwards. So 2 6-0s. I'm just going to repeat this one more time because we like repetition's sake, but I might chat while I'm doing the repetition. Can pay attention if you missed anything. There we go. Right. That's the way it dangles. And just as a spoiler alert, we're going to be doing basically this thing and then coming up above it to go through one of these beads and then make a little loop for the earrings. When I do my earrings, it's going to be basically this. So but it's going to be different because instead of having like 2 strands like this, it's all going to be 1 strand that we're working with at the same time. So you'll probably want to pay attention to that one too. And I have transposed the place for each of these. I have my short strand on the bottom and my long strand on top. And before I get anywhere with this, I'm going to change their places so that I can stay where I want to stay within this pattern and within this repeat, and not get confused with any of that. So for this, we're doing 1 8/0 and 2 11/0s on each strand, the long and the short. So that's the top strand, and that's my short guy. And this is the long strand. So it's 1 8/0 and 2 11/0s. 1, 2, like that. But yeah, I'll put a link to the Beads to Live By site. You have until the 13th to subscribe to get February's collections, which are, Cassandra put up the bundles, the add-on bundles, and you usually get a pretty good idea of what colors are going to be in there if you like having that peek ahead of time. The actual curated collections are a mystery until you get them, but usually that gives me an idea of what kind of colors we're looking at within the collection, and sometimes Cassandra will do a sneak peek with some other folks if she's doing a live somewhere, so you can see what you're gonna get. But I love being surprised, and I love not having to pick out beads myself. I love having it done for me. It's one of the reasons that this is one of my favorite collections or subscriptions. There we go. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But yeah, I know also like some of you guys got some pyramid beads in one of the dollar bead boxes recently. So if you were looking for a good way to use pyramid beads, this is great. Especially, or if you want to use dagger beads, you don't have to have this cat's claw for this. I think this would be great, a great design with just 3 dagger beads dangling off of there. That would look fantastic. And if you don't have these 2-hole like cylinder beads, some super duos would be a fantastic substitute to make a similar type of design. All right, so now we're repeating on the other side. 2 11/0s. That's 3. Look, I can count, guys. 1 8/0. And with my long strand, 2 11/0s. 1 8/0. Yes, okay. And then I want both of the strands to go through the same bead at the same time for my 6/0 bead. And I'm ready to do another one of my coin bead with embellishment passes. So the coin bead is going to have both strands going through at the same time. And I'm just, for convenience sake, putting on one and then I'll put the other one through. Helps with wire wrangling. All right, so there you are. Go. This is going to be a pretty short necklace. It's going to be kind of a probably choker with some dangles on it. Chokers are back, baby. They're absolutely back. So for this guy, we are going to do the same thing. 2 11/0s, 1 8/0, 1 6/0, 1 8/0, 2 11/0s. 1 2. Counting with Becky. Hey, there's the second one over there. 8/0. 6/0, 8/0, and 2 11/0s. And now I'm going to be putting on my dagger and my cat claw bead. And again, I want this to be pointing this way. So it's really useful to curve this around so that you can see how that's going to lay before you string it. Now that I've got these guys on here, I'm going to do my echoing other side for my seed beads, which is 2 11/0s, an 8/0, a 6/0, an 8/0, and 2 11/0s. Like that. And now I'm going to put my long wire through this coin bead another time, a third time. It helps if you kind of like move it away from the 6/0 a little bit. You can scooch it back where you left it after you're done. I'm just giving these a little bit of a tug just to help tighten it up. I don't want it too tight, but I don't want it super loose either. There we go. Because I do want it to hang from my neck while I'm wearing it. I love these so much. I'm so glad that my idea is working out. They're super cute. And then you finish up by putting on another 6/0 with both strands. So they're going in the same direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish one more on this side, and then I'm going to do 2 more on this side. I'm going to meet you back here, and I'll show you how to finish off the rest of the necklace, and then we'll move on to the earrings. So I'll meet you back here when that is done. All right, so I have all 5 of my sections done, and now I'm just going to be doing 2 more repeats of this on each side. And we've already done that. It's the one where we've got the beads on each side. You go through the 2-hole beads and then both strands through the 6/0. I'm going to do that 2 more times, and then it's going to be long enough that I can finish this necklace. You could, instead of going through that, say you wanted the back to just be chain. You could totally do that and it would look pretty great. Or if you've got like some silver silk, that would look great with it, like maybe some gold silver silk, or maybe like a turquoise color silver silk, that would look really cool with it. Or copper and brown. Yeah, that would look really cool. But I'm going to be doing with the beads, and then we're going to finish it up with a clasp and a longer chain so that I can change the length of this, because it will dangle like this if I want it to be looser, or I want it to also be able to be tighter like a choker. So I'm gonna have it be an adjustable size with that, because there's some other necklaces that I have that are choker length that this would be great layered with like the choker above it and that down below underneath it. I'm just really in love with the way that my little dangles are working on here. So let me get to the point where we can finish it after I do 2 more repeats of this on each side, and then we'll finish everything off with some earrings. All right, so let's finish up this necklace and make some earrings. Like I said, I did, these were the repeats that I did before we last saw each other, and I did 2 more repeats on each side. You can do more if you want it to be longer, but I'm going to be using kind of a longer chain on the end so that I can make it longer or shorter depending on how I want to wear it. And also I looked for some bright copper chain, but I don't have any, weirdly. So I'm using antique copper. This is just double Rollo chain, and the holes are large enough that I can attach my lobster clasp anywhere along this chain. So it's going to work great as an extender chain for this necklace. I have some 2x2 crimp tubes, my magical crimper, and a lobster clasp from my stash. And we're going to just attach our clasps and crimps, and then we're going to make some earrings. It'll be great. Because this is the front of the necklace, and I'm right-handed, anything with dexterity I like to be able to have on my right hand. So I'm going to attach my lobster clasp to this end. And to do that, I'm going to put my crimp tube on both strands of wire. This is just a copper crimp tube from Soft Flex. This is going to be really great for this wire because this is thinner wire, and the copper crimp tubes have a thicker wall, so the inner diameter is a little bit smaller than some of the other Soft Flex crimps, which means this will hold really well with this thinner wire when I crimp it. I'm just going to scooch this up a little bit so that I can bend. Oh, sorry. Let's put the lobster clasp on first. I was going to bend this back in there without attaching the lobster clasp, because that is something that I do sometimes. Y'all have seen it. You know me. Let's put our lobster clasp on here. And then both strands of wire are going to go back through the crimp, if I can hold it in place. And I am going to have some extra wire at the end of this, which is great because I'm going to use that extra wire for my earrings. And that will be perfect. All right. Go. Scoot you down there. Come on, buddy. There we go. Trying not to have too large of a hoop, and I'm also trying to make sure that the loops for both of these wires are the same size. There we go. I've got some movement still, and I've got a little bit of space between my crimp and this last bead, which is great. That is what I want. Slide my wires into this last bead real quick, just so they're, you know, a little bit out of the way. And so I'm not cutting my wire right next to the crimp, although usually it's not such a big concern with this wire, but I just like not having that if I don't need to. There we go. And if you've never seen a magical crimper in action, this is how it works. There are these little divots on the inside, this concavity, that when you crimp the bead, it squishes the corners of the crimp, which is why a 2x2 crimp tube needs to be used for this, not another side. And then when you rotate it and squeeze it down again, and then rotate it and then squeeze it down again, when you do that and come at it from different angles, it will smush down those sharp edges into a smooth little ball. So I like that because then you don't have any sharp edges on your crimp and you don't need to use any crimp covers. And it's just like 10 times easier for me to crimp than using other types of crimping methods, which is why I really like using it. There you go. So that is one side done. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. It's going to take some fiddling, which is fine. And I've got enough here to use on a earring. My extra wire. Let's go through with both strands on the crimp tube, and then both strands through the last link of this chain. Are these jump rings? They'll be fine. They'll be fine. But yeah, wouldn't this make a great bracelet? Both strands through the same link on this chain. You could use jump ring if you wanted to. Nothing's stopping you. I'm just going to attach it directly to the chain. Through here and go back through here. So usually when I'm using this, the fine wire and this type of crimp, I will grab some extra wire, some of my excess wire that I've cut off from other projects, to put into the crimp to give it more meat for the ravioli. But these, when I've got 4 of them going through here, that takes up that extra space that would normally be there if it was just 2 strands of wire going through there. I'm going to put this one through the 802, just, you know, for fun. And that one through the other 80. For funsies. A little bit tighter. There you go, that looks like a decent loop. And I still have some room between my crimp and my bead, because you don't want to crush your seed bead with your crimper. I'm just rotating it and coming at it from several different angles. All right, that is in there. I like to test my crimps, give it a little tug. Make sure it's good. All right, necklace. Let me grab my longer pieces of wire that I'm going to use for my earrings. Set them there. Scooch back just a little bit. And I'll show you how it wears when I do my wrap up on Sunday. We'll do like the whole thing together. So if I want to have it be like choker length, I can just have that there, and I don't mind this hanging down the back of my neck. That's fine. And if I want it a little bit longer, I can attach it like that. There we go. That is my necklace for this whole set that I'm making. Now let's make some earrings real quick. Like I said before, the earrings are going to be an echo of this. So I'm going to make one earring with y'all on camera and the other one off, so that, you know, this isn't like the longest video I've ever made. It probably won't be the longest video I've ever made. But we are going to start from, hold on. Yes, that's both of those. We'll start at the middle of this with, again, the middle of the earring. And so I'm going to put on my cat's claw and my 2 daggers, still going just through the top loop of my dagger. So this is us doing it with just one wire instead of with 2 at once. And now I'm going to go ahead and put the same order of beads along each side of my earring wire here. So I've got 1, 2 of the 11-ohs, 1 8-oh, 1 6-oh, 1 8-oh, and 2 11-ohs on one side, and then the same on the other. 2 11-ohs, 1 8-oh, gonna try not to flip my 8-ohs over there. It's because I'm using my left hand to pick these up. I'm pretty sure that is why it's incredibly difficult for me. But that's okay. I am so close to done with this video, and then you guys can watch it. And then I can go get my mail and open up my bargain bead box, because I've been looking forward to that. Okay, so I've got these guys on here. And now I'm going to grab one of these coin beads. I'm going to go through the coin bead in opposite directions. So I'm going from right to left on that side, and then from left to right on the other side. So we are crisscross applesauce through the bead like that. I'm going to pull these guys tight-ish. And now I'm going to load a few more beads on here. And where are my, hold on, I just had them. My little cylinders that but I should have looked up the name while I was working on this so I could come back and tell you what they're called. I will definitely put it in the description below, guys. Sorry about that. All right. So now 2 11-ohs on each strand. An 8-oh. A 6-oh. An 8-oh. Same thing on the other strand. All right, and then 2 more 11-ohs on each strand. And that should give me enough room to be able to bring these strands together. And put my 2-hole beads on, and then this is going to go through both holes of the 2-hole beads, both strands, one through each hole. There we go. And now my pyramid bead. And this guy. Oop. This one's gonna be pretty dangly, but I love it anyway. Go like this. Now, I need to make a loop up here at the top. So to do that, I'm going to grab another crimp tube. I'm going to put both ends through the crimp tube. Like that. And I'm going to bend this strand over, put it through the crimp tube, this strand bent over and put it through the crimp tube. Where's my wire going? This is going to be the fun part. Just trying to get these loops to be the same size. So I'm going to have something else to fiddle with. Okay, so that tightened both of those up. Pulling those through down. I just want there to be enough of a loop up here at the top that I can put my ear wire through it. There we go. But also not have it too loose so that my earring loses its shape. I think I want my excess wire to be behind the crimp tube and not in front of it, because this is the front if we've got our point going that way. So I'm just sticking my excess wire over there. Come on, buddy. Loop. Said I'm only doing the one on camera with you guys, and I'll show you both of them when we do our wrap up. But it's the same type of crimping, just right here on the end, and now I've got a little loop to put my ear wire through, and I have a dangly earring to go with my necklace, to go with my bracelet, and I will put the link to this tutorial in the description below. I aimed it at beginning bead weavers, though you'll be able to follow it if you are an experienced bead weaver as well. So if you're at all intimidated about bead weaving, you can give this a try and it will work for you as long as you've got these different sizes of seed beads. But there we go. So we've got earring, we have a necklace, we have a ring, we have a bracelet, and I made all of these using the January curated collections from Beads to Live By. And again, February 13th is the cutoff if you wanted to subscribe for the February curated collections. I've had a peek at the colors. I haven't seen the actual beads, but you get a view of the colors when you look at the bundles, the add-on bundles. But they look really, really fun, and we'll have a lot of fun playing with those. But thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I hope you are having a great week, and I will talk to you later. Bye!